people, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
In a way.
For sure.
But you do so much preparation for that.
Yeah, and that's what I think people don't see.
Yeah.
Is how much behind the scenes goes into these. I mean, the podcast, obviously, but then also just having like one-on-one coffee chats with people.
Yeah.
Like never ever go into a coffee chat like cold. Bare minimum is spending 5 minutes on their LinkedIn profile to know more about them, and that's like the bare minimum, I would say. Especially if you're the person who is asking for the coffee chat, and you know, in the like power differential is asking for help.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very good practical tip.
Yeah.
I think one of the most powerful ways to talk to anybody is to identify what your shared interests are, or like even better, like over time, like cultivate some sort of like shared interests and shared experiences together.
Yes.
Like I feel like you have like so much to say about that.
When I was in school, one of the big things that I did, and I would suggest that other people do as well, is like join clubs or get involved in groups where you can like find a common interest. For example, in the last few months of my time at Stanford, I helped co-organize the Stanford Women's Golf Clinic. And it was just, you know, a few of us ladies where we got together and we created a 3-week series to bring other Stanford women in business to go learn golf together. And we got so much feedback from these ladies that they were like, this was amazing. I've never played golf before. It's so safe. It was just like a good environment. And then also like, for example, we had like a mini creator club at Stanford, and it was just like common interest. And it's not just at school too, it's at work, right? And a lot of companies, there are dedicated affinity groups that you can join. And even outside of that, like some of the things that I've done is, remember, like I've created this with my friends, like this annual retreat with my HBS girlfriends where we get together every year in Newport. It's about like 20 of us, and we basically like have this weekend of like learning and growing together, like reconnecting and bonding, like creating. You can actively create these experiences where you can like bond with people and like get to know them better. Well, I think it also starts from like a shared understanding. So like we all have a common something, and then from there you create the shared experiences where you dive in even deeper. And one way we were able to do this at Stanford GSB that I absolutely loved was going on trips together. Big proponent of traveling together to experience things in a new way.
And speaking of trips, you may have seen that Shuri and I recently announced our Trova trip to Japan together, which we kind of put together because we wanted to create this opportunity to bond with and build community with all of you guys.
So you can find more information in the description in this video, but basically it's going to be Dean and I as the hosts of this trip, but we will definitely have someone on the ground in Japan leading us and guiding us through all the different points. We'll be in Tokyo and then also near Mount Fuji, and we'll have up to 15 people join us on this trip. Yeah, wait to spend time with you guys.
I'm so excited because I've never been to Japan before somehow. But Shuri has been, and she's like a total, I feel like, expert on Japan now because you've spent so much Japan on fire. Yeah, and so I'm like super excited to like get to know Japan and like experience it, and also like have like her expertise and her personal experiences to guide us as well. And I just think it's gonna be a totally magical experience, and I can't wait to meet you guys and to like get to actually spend time together face to face, as opposed to just like messaging and like, you know, DMing and like responding to comments.
Yeah, so excited for this, and check out the link in the description for more details.
Speaking of exposure therapy, I feel like another way that we had exposure therapy was just kind of the environment and neighborhood that we were in growing up. So Shuri and I grew up on Long Island. Well, actually, I grew up in Brooklyn, and then I moved to Long Island in the middle of 4th grade.
I was born in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and then Shuri moved when she was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old or something really young. But we grew up in what was essentially like a very white and affluent community. And so I feel like, yes, there were many, many times where I never felt fully comfortable because I was like one of one Asian people, like in my, not just in my friend group, but like in my entire grade, maybe one of two actually. But, and I always felt like I was very like defined by my ethnicity, but the like flip side of that is that I feel like I had to learn how to become very comfortable with people who were different from me. Yeah, I have girlfriends who've told me who have grown up in California and they've like grown up with mostly Asian people and they're like, yeah, I just don't feel I like to this day I just don't feel like fully comfortable talking to white people. Like or as comfortable as I feel talking to Asian people. So that's something I feel like never really gets like talked about.
Totally. I mean, there's so much to dig in there. Perhaps with a therapist for us. But, like, I
have other higher priorities.
I know. Like, we have other things to talk about in therapy, but underneath the surface, that is one thing. But yeah, I mean, there's like pros and cons. Like, G and I grew up in a nice neighborhood, even though we didn't come from that world. We were very much like exposed to that world and exposed to
the let it like be hate. Yeah, that world as a Christians, the ways of speaking, the expectations. Some people would be that as a jerk though. For like, oh, you need a code switch. I mean, you know me. I'm like, the world is the world, right? Ready to exist in the world today.
She seeks slaves.
And how can you change the world if you're not going to like be a part of it? Yeah, and if you're not going to make yourself into a person of influence in the world today in order to affect change. That's my perspective.
I agree with that, but I also see the other side as well. But I guess all of that to say, like, it was a really good experience to be exposed to that, so then we can kind of, like looking back, like at the time, like did I enjoy being like feeling alone and being bullied when I was growing up? Like no, but now, but now I like see the value of having been put into that situation. So maybe one takeaway out of all this is that wasn't something that we like opted into, but it is something that you can opt into. Like basically you can choose to put yourself into situations that are outside of your comfort zone in order to kind of like learn more about different cultures. And honestly, it just goes back to like how to talk to anyone. Like I think that is a strength if you're able to relate to many different types of people, especially if it's outside of the environment that you're comfortable with. And I think it'll be good professionally, it'll be good personally, it'll widen your worldview. And I think like, like talking to some, and this specific story is like some of our Asian girlfriends who are not comfortable with it, like you can stay in the comfortable spot or you can like lean into the discomfort and like grow in different ways. And I would argue it would help your career to do so.
Yeah. And one specific example I have of this is, one specific method you can do at work is you can seek out sort of like opportunities to interact with different people, especially senior people. If you feel nervous about connecting with or you don't know how to talk to them, seek out opportunities to interact with them that are outside of your typical like meetings or like super like straightforward interactions where you're like presenting to them or like, you know, not the like cut and dry work interactions. So like what's an example? When I worked at Goldman, one of the things that my group did every year, I don't know why, but one of the things that we did was we put together this like holiday music video. And it was still have access to it? No, but it honestly was so freaking good. It was like, I was like so proud of it. We made ourselves like little awards for it too. But anyway, it was one of the things that we did. And it was like day to day, like we thought day to day, like the work was so serious. Like everyone, we literally thought we were doing God's work because that's what Floyd had said to us.
Really blank time?
Yeah, he was like, we're doing God's work. And I was like, yes, we are. Because I was like 20, 21. And I was like, we're doing God's work. And everyone took everything so seriously. But we had this holiday video. And I like volunteered or was voluntold, I don't remember, to become one of the producers. And so my job was to help like write the script. It was like an SNL thing to like write the scripts and like help like direct and have and like make the MDs and VPs like lip sync to all these different songs.
They're like, it's my job, you have to lip sync Taylor Swift.
Yeah. And I would like give them these like costumes and it was just like so fun, and it was a way to interact with each other.
Oh, I love that.
That
yeah.
was not work.
Yeah.
But it was work, but like it wasn't work.
No, it was
right?
it was fun, it was silly, and you're able to like bring a fun side out of the VPs and MPs as well.
Yeah, and then they get to like see you for a person too, not just like a robotic minion. Out of the machine. But yeah, so like I would just encourage even like other, like now that I'm thinking about it, like other little things. Like we had this annual baking competition, and like me, like you know me, I'm not a baker, much less a cook at all. But for some reason, me and my friend slash fellow first or second year, I don't remember which year it was, fellow first year, Christine, we were like, let's enter the competition together, and we made these sticky toffee pudding cupcakes. I will never forget this, and we won. Yeah,
Oh my god, I know.
was more shocked.
I would have been shocked that you won a baking competition.
We like beat all of the like PAs and the admins who had all these like amazing like passed down recipes. But anyway, that was just like another way for us to like did we think we were good cooks or good bakers? Like no, but we're like okay, let's just do it. And then it's like another way to like interact with people and like have connections and also like make little jokes, right? And like
It also helps if you're the one organizing the event as well.
yeah.
Because then you can bring people together and everyone can see you and then come to you because you are the organizer.
Yeah.
I organized a baking competition at LinkedIn for my larger like team and like org.
Get cockier.
I didn't even know you won your sticky toffee cupcake. But yeah, I organized this baking competition and got like engineers on our team and like sister teams to like sign up.
Yeah.
And it really brought people together. We were able to vote and everything. I've actually done it twice and they were mega successes. People loved it, and it was a way for like us to engage. It was a way for me to engage with people who were not on my team but on partner teams and in different roles. Because it's super cross-team, cross-functional.
Yeah.
So designers came, engineers came, data scientists came.
Yeah.
And it was a way to also talk to people, but then also be known. Obviously, it was for baking. It wasn't for like,
Yeah, she was known.
but it was also known for. It was a way to get known.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I was kind of making fun of it, but you're right. It is. It's a way. Yeah, it's a way for you to like put your name out there that is kind of like low stake.
Yeah.
Or it's just like a reason for people to like know their name and also like talk to you.
To engage a conversation in when I was in the kitchen and someone who like I literally don't even remember because since you're the organizer, there were like so many people you're dealing with. They're like, oh, you organized. I was like, oh, did you partake? And like it was a conversation.
They're like, I for sure partook.
I was like, did you think something?
Yeah, no, it was Forsakus. Anyway. Yeah, those are good. Oh, memories. It's funny how like I'm like, oh, my years at Goldman Sachs, all I remember is so fun. Music video, the baking contest.
Yeah, seriously. Those are probably like micro snippets out of your.
I know it was like 1% of my time. But it is. I mean, it is. Yeah, it's funny how that's what I remember about. What I remember. All right, what about communicating as a woman in the workplace?
This is a juicy one.
Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I do. It's tough. It also depends on the environment that you're in and the workplace situation. Like, especially if it's a super male-dominated field, like finance, tech, I don't know, gaming, those
Oil and gas.
yeah, if they're super heavily male-dominated, it's hard sometimes as a woman to be able to have your voice heard. And there's like many studies on this, on like why that is, especially in like workplace with that dynamic. I would say if you find yourself there, my number one tip is to find male allies who will be able to pull you into conversations. These are the people, it could be your boss, it could be a mentor, it could just be someone who's in meetings with you that you just really trust. For me, this was my boss, Albert, who we had a very close like relationship, and like we would be back channeling all the time, and then he would give me such good advice that like in a meeting, if it's like quiet and someone like asks something, he's like, it's jump ball. He would like coach me afterwards and before. It's jump ball, meaning like anyone can like chime in, and like someone like lobbed a question in the air, chime
Wow.
like, you know, grab the ball and, you know, take it. So, and then there'd be times where there'd be conversations happening in meetings, and like I would have like specific knowledge on an answer, but I'd be like too nervous to speak up. And then Albert would be like DMing me on Slack, be like, "Go take this, you know this, blah blah blah." Like
Wow.
a male ally who is not only encouraging me to take the jump ball, but then sometimes even putting like a layup for me and to like dunk it, and then he'd pass it over to me.
That's amazing.
So it was not only him being a male ally, but it was also me wanting to have like wanting that exposure and wanting to speak up.
Okay, but then how do you cultivate that? Like, let's say you didn't have Albert, because I'm like, okay, he sounds like the best boss in the world. Like, not gonna lie.
He really was. Albert, if you're watching this,
Yeah, tell me. Albert's living his best life.
I know he is. I need to text him.
But like, let's say, okay, Albert aside, let's say he was this like outlier.
Yeah.
What did you have other male allies that weren't your boss? How did you cultivate them?
Yeah, I would say for this, one very tactical thing to do is that like figure out who you admire in the workplace. It could be a woman, it could be a man. But if you're looking for male allies who are already in the room and already have influence, like find someone that you trust. Like, and that can be through you have coffee with them, you vibe, and then after you're in a meeting together, pull them aside immediately when the meeting ends, and then ask them for feedback. And be like, that sounds so scary. I mean, it's scary in the sense that like your ego might be hurt because you're like, oh, I'm like seeking feedback, but it's only for growth, especially if you trust this person.
Not even that, even just like, I could imagine someone being like, oh my God, like I couldn't imagine like going up to someone more senior and being like even like pulling them aside, even like approaching them. But that's something you have to like work up to, I guess.
It's something you have to work up to, but it's just like you're in a meeting together and you want to get better. You've already had a coffee chat with this person, like they know that you have an interest in growing. You have like a growth mindset, and then like when everyone's packing up their laptops and then everyone's leaving when the meeting's over, like you walk out of the meeting room with someone by your side and you have small talk.
Yeah. So what would you say? Pretend it's me.
I'd be like, hey James. But I walked out and be like, hey James. Hello.
Where's Cherie?
Hello. This is based off of someone I know.
Oh, okay. I'll be British.
Hello there. And like, hey, so, do you have a second?
Perhaps for you.
Well, in this meeting, I just wanted to grab your feedback really quick. If you had a couple of thoughts on how I presented myself, what I said, and how you think I could, perhaps have more influence in the next meeting. Like, what'd you think?
What a thoughtful question. I will most definitely give you feedback.
Yeah, and if James is running off to lunch or has another meeting, be like, no stress, you don't have to answer this now. But if you can jot down like 3 thoughts, like I'll catch you later.
Yeah. Okay. As like a manager, yes, thinking about it now, as a manager and a former team leader, I would be receptive to that. Yeah. I'd be like, oh wow, like what a thoughtful young person. Or just like what a thoughtful person who like actually really wants to grow. I have some thoughts on it, they're not fully formed.
About communicating in the workplace as a woman.
Yeah, I think the like reality of it, I feel like I'm like always the one that's like the cold reality of the world. It's cold hard truth. You don't even know what this world is like. Yeah, like, you don't even know. You're not ready for the truth, but God. No, but like I am like half a generation older than Cherie, so I do think the reality of it is that you may not necessarily be in control of everything, right? Like as a woman, like you are still existing in a broader context, and you exist in the context of coconut. You think you just got out of a coconut tree? Exactly. I think what I'm trying to say is that it's helpful to also be aware of how other people perceive you, and it may not even be specific to you. It may be like you as a category, right? Like you as a 25-year-old woman, how are you perceived? You as a 30-year-old not single woman, how are you perceived? Like, you know how there's been a lot of discussion about the idea of the manic pixie dream girl? I feel like there's a version of it that carries over to the workplace as well, where like when you are a certain age and you act a certain way, you're kind of viewed as more of like the ingenue. Like you're like new in the world, like you're young enough that people don't perceive you as a threat. Yeah, they don't take you seriously. But like, you're fresh out of school, great, you have all this fresh energy, good job. Right, so that's like kind of to your benefit, right? Because if you go up and ask someone senior, like, oh, can you give me feedback? They will be fully honest with you and be like trying to help you.
Yeah.
As opposed to when you reach a certain point when you're no longer like viewed as the ingenue and you are like a little bit more senior in your career, like those same tactics may or may not go over the same way because then you kind of start to be viewed as like competition.
Yeah, totally.
So
It's kind of like you get some beginners like leeway. Yeah.
so that's just something that I've seen that I myself and my like fellow millennial women, I feel like we've like been working our way through. And I don't really have an answer to that, but it's just something that I can be like, watch out for, like be aware of it and like understand how you're being perceived by the people you interact with.
Totally. I mean, it goes, it's, especially we're talking in the context of women in the workplace, but I think like men as well, especially maybe minority men as well, like are placed in some sort of like stereotype.
Yeah.
I know one of my friends who worked in venture capital. He was one of like the youngest partners at a VC firm amongst like other people who were probably like 20 to 35 years older than him. And then he had gotten married, but then he like very specifically like wanted to get married and have a ring to seem older than he actually was. And he was very mature and like, but like in that way, it's like understanding your reputation and how do you manage it. And then perhaps surprise people if, you know, they have a stereotype of you and you completely break out of that in a good way.
Yeah, and I do feel like that sort of benefit that men get in the workplace of like being married and like having kids, like just think about your own perception of like a man with kids. Like you're automatically like, oh my god, he's a good person. He's a father. He's responsible. He is, you know, like thoughtful, etc. Versus like women don't get that same sort of benefit of the doubt or like immediate positive shift in perception. I mean, if anything, it could be like the other way.
Oh yeah, true. That's so unfair.
Yeah. So I don't know. That wasn't like a fully formed thought, but it's like there's something there.
Yeah. So I guess like the main takeaway is that like be aware of how you may be perceived for whether it's fair or not, like in the workplace. And many times perception can be reality.
What, you weren't ready for that shoot on?
Yeah. So what do you think about communication when it comes to dating and flirting?
Thoughts? I think even the kind of like precursor to explicit communication is like your energy. Because I feel like something.
Why are you laughing? Communicating through energy.
More energy. More passion. No, but I just feel like for myself and my own experience, I feel like in the last like few months, like something has shifted in my energy. Whereas like I'll be going back to the same exact person situation, but now all of a sudden like people are like approaching me, and like people are like coming up to me and like speaking to me, you know.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
You're more open.
I think so.
You're like radiating, you're magnetic.
Yeah. Or maybe I'm just not wearing an engagement ring. And
that might be it.
That might be part of it. But no, I don't know. I think it's not just that. I think it's more like my energy has shifted.
Yeah.
And also it's like both my energy that I'm putting out, but then also like my energy within myself. Whereas now I am like more like aware of the world around me. I'm like almost like seeing the world through like a different perspective.
I like that. I think the energy that you put out and then also the energy to receive as well. So that like if people come up to you and talk to you, you're not gonna be closed off.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, I'm like very much like sometimes I'm in like a state of like mind or energy where I'm like, nobody better talk to me. Like I'm not here to like.
I do do not wish to be I do not. Yes, exactly. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
Whereas like you're different, like you're much.
And like perceive me, everyone.
You're more like open all the time. It's about your energy, so maybe it like kind of like starts there.
Yeah, I think you can also perceive people's energy too before they even like open up their mouths. Like you could, before they speak, you're like, oh, do you have like a positive?
Harmony is a harsh mistress.
What if I told you that the thing that you're desperately chasing, the perfect body, fame, success, more money, isn't actually what you want? I have spent 30 years figuring this out, and I'm going to save you decades of time, frustration and suffering in the next 10 years. We all do this, we all tell ourselves, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I lose weight, I'll be happy when I get promotion, I'll be happy when I have a partner, I'll finally be respected when I'm successful. But here's the truth I wish I would have known earlier. Hi, I'm Maggie, welcome to my channel. So this is embarrassing to admit, but I used to want to be famous, like I really wanted it, ever since I was 12 and I had my first role in the school play. I got attention, I got accolades, and I thought, this is pretty good, I want this. And like many, many actors, it came from a deep place of unworthiness. You know, like a lot of kids, I felt overlooked, not seen, not special, and so acting gave me that moment of attention, that moment to shine. It was something that people said that I was good at. So I thought to myself, in my little child brain, if I get famous, then everyone will like me, then life will work out, then I'll be happy. I chased that dream the auditions, the rejections, the small wins, always thinking the next role would be the one that made me feel complete. But here's what I've learned. I'm worthy right now, and you're worthy right now. We're worthy because we exist. We've all heard the stories, the Jim Carreys of the world, who say that once they became famous, they felt empty and hollow inside. Why? Because they're chasing the wrong thing. They weren't actually seeking fame, they were seeking love, validation, and acceptance. Things that they could have given themselves all along. Things that I could have given myself all along. Another example from my life is that I thought that no one would love me unless I was thin. Any relationship that didn't work out, I would think it was because I wasn't thin enough or pretty enough. This belief controlled every facet of my life. I was absolutely obsessed with it. And guess what? I did get thin and I did find love. And now I'm 7 years into that relationship with my dream partner, who is literally everything I've ever wanted. And as you do when you're in a relationship, sometimes you let yourself go a little bit, and I gained some weight. And it still was an obsession in this relationship, even though I had love, do have love right now. But I had this realization. What I really wanted wasn't the perfect body or the perfect relationship. What I wanted was my own love. To feel love for myself, to approve of myself, to deeply accept myself as I am. No matter what I weigh, no matter what I look like, to be okay no matter what. And I could have given myself that a long time ago as well. Think about it. How many times have you chased a goal, achieved the goal, and then felt happy for a minute or two, and then you're on to the next goal? Then you felt that dissatisfaction, that itch, that urge to achieve something else. You know, I work with the elderly, I'm a podiatrist, and most of my patients are over 70, a lot of them well over 80, over 90, and I've even got some over 100. And I've been doing this job for over 20 years, and let me tell you, that gives you a whole new perspective of life. I know what it looks like to age well, I know what it looks like to age poorly, and I'm not talking about looks, I'm talking about mobility and health. I have patients in housing commission flats. I have patients that are in multi-million-dollar homes overlooking the beach. I've got patients who spend all of their money on lottery tickets, and when I ask them, what are you going to do if you win? They say, what do I need all that money for? I would just give it to my family. So they're spending all their pension money, all their spare money, even in this cost of living crisis, on lottery tickets for a dream that they're not even going to enjoy because they feel too old to enjoy life. However, I also have some patients who are amazing. They're so curious, they've got a sparkle in their eye. They're so fun to be around, they've got a great sense of humour. They'll say, I look in the mirror, I don't recognise that old lady, so I just keep walking. You know, they never stop growing. They've got purpose, whether it's gardening or traveling. Some of them are doing crazy things like Had this patient who's like 85 or something, and he jumped out of a plane.
Feeds the demon
These
inside.
patients are so inspiring. There's really something about them. They tend to be really joyful and really content and really accepting. And I think these patients, whether consciously or unconsciously, they understand something crucial, and that is we're either evolving or devolving, but we're never staying the same. If you're not growing and learning and experiencing, you are dying. You're getting smaller, your world is getting smaller, you're stunted. No one is going to stay the same. I had a patient the other day who was complaining to me about her wrinkles, and she was 92,
She seeks
complaining
slaves.
about her wrinkles because her 70-year-old daughter-in-law has lovely skin, and she was envious of that skin and wanting to get the $12 skincare product moisturizer that her daughter-in-law has. And I'm like, you're 92. I have so many patients who will say, how old do you think I am? This obsession with what we look like externally doesn't stop unless you choose to stop it. You want to know what true freedom feels like? It's when something that used to scare you doesn't scare you anymore. When you can speak in front of people without your heart racing. When people who used to bother you, who maybe were mean to you or cruel to you, when their words don't affect you anymore. When you don't care what people think. When you have room for decisions that used to just set you off. When it's like water off a duck's back. That's true freedom. When you can look in the mirror and see your aging face and completely accept yourself and love yourself. When you can look at your middle-aged body and go, yes, my body is changing, but I still love it. When you can walk into a party and not be thinking, what will people think of me, but be thinking, I'm curious, who's here? Who can I meet? What can I learn today? That's what real confidence looks like. Not the fake kind when you're seeking validation, where you're putting photos of yourself on Instagram to make it look like you have a wonderful life. Real confidence is when external things don't get to you anymore, where you're not walking around getting offended, taking things personally, or being triggered by people. No one has that power over you. I used to desperately want to pay off my mortgage. I still do. Of course I want to pay off my mortgage. But I used to think I wouldn't feel safe until I paid off my mortgage. This is 25 years. And then someone said to me, imagine having paid off your mortgage and then think about your finances. What comes up for you? And I'm like, oh, well, I've got to pay the rates and I've got to pay the bills and I've got to pay the XYZ and what is this and what is that? And then it became very clear to me that my fear was around scarcity, of there not being enough, of not being safe. But I can give myself that feeling of safety and security right now by trusting that it's a benevolent universe, trusting that things always work out for me, by reframing the negative into the positive. I'm bastardizing this, but I think Einstein said you need to decide if this universe is friendly or not. And for a long time, I thought the universe was not friendly. But now I truly believe that it is benevolent. It is always pushing you and helping you to grow and to give you the things that you say that you want. However that looks like, it may not be how you think it should look, but that's what you're doing. I had an experience recently with the YouTube channel, which I really, really want to grow. I love it so much. I genuinely love YouTube. So now's probably a good time to ask you to like and subscribe and maybe comment if you're enjoying this video. But yes, recently I released a video and it did really well. It's at 33,000 views, which is huge for me. Very, very exciting. It's what I always wanted. And then something interesting happened. Fear began to creep in a little bit. I started to get a little worried about the next video. What if it doesn't do so well? What if it was a one-hit wonder? What if I can't replicate that? I have forgotten about it. The whole point is to grow, is to serve, is to evolve, is to add value to people through my videos. It's not to go viral. Of course, I would love my videos to do well, but keeping it in perspective, what is the point? The point is to make videos that help touch, move and inspire people, to help them lead a compassionate life, a joyful life, offering the knowledge and wisdom that I've gained over my 48 years.